first, and you won't be the last.
Anyway, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlingame the Fifth, adventurer, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire. At your service, madam. Well, y'all, I'll just, at the end of a long day, I mixed myself a drink here. And mixed drink, kind of heavy. I only poured myself half a glass. It's very potent. I got myself some, the whiskey there. And then I got myself for tonight a Puerto Rican rum. And I got a couple other secret ingredients that I mixed up. And I have to say it's pretty stiff drink. But anyway, I settled down and I was kind of reminiscing here there with Rita Hayworth, who I remember from the 50s. And anyway, just to kind of get the mood that we're sort of, I like to think of myself and y'all that's watching the channel here, that we're connoisseurs of fine liquor, women, and objects of art, which women would, in my mind, qualify, and the finer things in life. And anyway, kind of get that off the screen here, and what we'll do is we'll put up tonight's topic, as you all know, and I have in the promotionals for our video here. The topic tonight is, and this is going to be kind of an on and off feature of the program, it's going to be different women that, we're aware of in the public eye, maybe even some unknowns perhaps I run across, and I'll maybe snap a couple photos. And we're going to cover the sort of things like, whether, in fact, I don't want to be crude, but whether we would do them, whether, it's a woman that I would sleep with, or perhaps you would sleep with, or, something that perhaps we'd be interested in. And, I look at women and, and art. Yes, I know there's some of it's controversial. We're talking about certain, like in this case, we're talking about tonight's topic of would you sleep with her? Now, of course, as it had in my, let's see here, we're going to move this up. Let me see if I can get the screen up here. Perhaps we could pull this up a little further toward the camera. But is it going to be AOC? That would be, as we see here, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, and as you can tell, the gal, she is of Latino descent, and she is very, well, I think she's got potential here, and I'm not just talking as a political leader. I'm not going to get into politics. I'm talking not to sound shallow, but the beauty, like, is she someone that you or I would consider sleeping with, having sex with, as we would say in the title, to grab the viewership here? I'm not going to lie to you. You have to do some promotion. Now, I put this search in here, and we have, pictures of her, and yes, I think she has potential. I mean, she's thin, and one thing that's big time in her favor is she's still young and silky. And I think she's all of 30 years old, and, she's an accomplished gal. But let's talk, about, as a woman, would we be interested in her? Well, certainly she has a bright future. I mean, depending on whatever side of the aisle you're on, you have to admit she put out a 10-term incumbent for her congressional seat, and she defended that seat, and I give the gal a lot of credit. But I'm not going to lie to you. I certainly don't agree with a number of her political views, and but we're interested besides that. After hours, we're having a drink. Perhaps we're in Washington, D.C., or perhaps we're up in her district there in New York, and we were fortunate enough to bump into the gal, and we started a conversation. The question we have is, was this someone that we perhaps would want to sleep with? And well, I have to tell you, you know, like I said, some pictures, I don't know, she looks kind of, I guess. Another one, she looks very, very attractive. And you know, depends, I think, on what her outfit is and her makeup. But like I said earlier, she is young and silky and thin. And if you look here, and we're not going to see any explicit photos. Whoops, I lost the picture. What happened? Oh yes, here we are. And there she is here. Look at the nice lips, and she has a red lipstick on and her makeup, and she does clean up nice. Now, there's other pictures I'm not sure, like, let's look at this one here. Well, I can't, you know, I'm not going to lie, you know, and I'm not criticizing the gal, you know, you are what you are, but, you know I saw earlier photos in my research for this topic that she, you know, had some big teeth that were all crooked. She had those fixed, but, you know, she does have some big choppers. You know, and that's not a very flattering picture, I have to admit. But, you know, they're asking, did you find Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hot? And in that picture, I can't say. Now, here, we're going to be fair to the gal. Now that's a better picture. She looks rather good, and there's other shots. Now here's her former, looks like her former congressional portrait there. She's sensible enough not to smile and show those teeth. You know, if we were to, yeah, there's a different pictures we're seeing here. And there's a lot of pictures of the gal. But, you know, the question is, would you sleep with her? Yes, I would. Yes, I have to tell you. I would, yes. But, you know, I have to be realistic, you know. I don't think that gal, you know, that she's going to be interested in someone who's over 50-some years her senior. You know, I'm going to have to say probably I'm going to have to pass the baton to one of you fellas out there. And well, let me see here. I've just got to kind of, you know, got to get my glasses ready here and get them all cleaned up. Kind of read the fine print we have here. Anyway, so let me see if I can get this screen back. I'm not very good at this thing, but there we are. So, yes, we see pictures, you know, kind of good and the bad. Now, her background, I understand, is that her daddy was a Puerto Rican. The gal grew up in New York City, and in her honor, I'm having myself a Puerto Rican rum drink mix here. And if you don't mind, as to you, Alexandria. Oh, that's a stiff drink, I have to say. But anyway, I mean, so what I'm saying is that I like to consider, you know, my viewership was sort of like, I guess you could say, sort of like a fraternity. And, you know, I'm the old senior member of the house, I guess you could say. And, of course, I still, you know, enjoy getting out there and it's like a fraternity. And like a fraternity, you know, we like to have fun in the fraternity, and, you know, just an old paddle from the old days. But anyway, you know, thank you, sir, may I have another. I'm the one who actually originated that line. You know, when we were, you know, had new rushies and they were coming into the fraternity. But anyway, so what it boils down to, yes, I would. And, you know, a lot of things, too, is, you know, and whether it's right or not, I know those are big scandals. Okay, I'm back. God damn it. The batteries went again on my camera, but I got a fresh pack in there now, so we should be all right. But like I was saying, whether they want to admit it or not, a gal who is good looking, easy on the eye, she's going to be able to persuade men to get her way a lot easier than some gal who's homely. But that may sound politically incorrect and all this and that, but it's the truth. Now, and I've ranked women over the years by their appearance, just like the Harvard team, those boys down there. But generally, I rank women from $100 to $1,000, and that would be like, how much would you pay to sleep with her? And I've used that standard among my colleagues for a number of years. Now, outside, just like any sort of like a collectible item, you have the intrinsic value and the collector value and the premium value. And the premium value would be if, in fact, it was owned by a celebrity. Now, in this case, the same would apply to women. I would rank Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'd rank her probably, if she were not famous and in the Congress and a name, I'd rank her if she a bad makeup hair day, probably I'd put her at $500. Now, if she's all sharped up in her designer $2,200 pantsuit and she's got all her makeup on, her hair done, I'd put her probably $700. Now, since she is a big time celebrity, a big name, of course, she's a premium. And she would be over the $1,000 just for the prestige. But that's something, like I said earlier, me being the colonel and over 50-some years her senior, that's very unlikely the old colonel would get a shot at that. So the only hope is that I can live vicariously through my viewership. And what I would suggest is this: if you're a young congressional aide or you're, somebody that you could be in contact with her, then, I'm certainly going to cheer you on. Now, I understand she does have herself a fiancé, and from what I've also heard through my sources in Washington, I do know a number of people and have a little drink here. We're talking about, knowing, influencing people. I do know that she does have the fiancé. That's documented. I saw a video with him on there, and the word is that they want to keep her popularity going by actually keeping her single, that she would be available, and that would be attractive, I believe, to the men voters out there. And so she's not getting married anytime soon from what it looks like, although, she is engaged to this guy, and there was a video showed he's some kind of like bearded guy, so I believe he's some sort of an artist type. So she goes for those artistic type fellas. And if you're some kind of artist, a painter, a sculptor, or perhaps an actor. Now, an actor might have a shot at this gal because you would have the name, and I don't know who's all big today, but you might have a chance at that. And here's one thing I will ask you to do if you charm her, and perhaps I could give you some tips. You want to always talk along her political views. You want to agree with her on everything, even if you don't, because she sort of looks like the sort of gal that if you have an opposing political view, well, you have no chance in hell. You got to be, of her political, at least mouth it, that you're of her political persuasion, and that, of course you're intrigued. And now remember one thing. This gal, you have to impress upon her that you are interested in her intellect. Now, the gal does have some education, and she's no dummy. I don't care what any of these other boys say. This girl's no dummy. I don't agree with all her views, but she's a pretty smart gal to get where she's gone, from a bartender to the, big name congresswoman who they're talking that she could run for Senate and then ultimately the presidency. And but you want to be on the same wavelength with her, at least, talking politics. You have to be artistic. You have to talk about art. Perhaps you read what books that she had read, and you study what she has what she's liked and disliked. There's got to be some information out there. I haven't looked at it, but you know, you meet her, you talk. Oh yes, I enjoyed this book, or oh, I enjoy this place. I was there, and you know, before you know it, one thing leads to another. Perhaps you'll forget about the fiance, and you might end up in bed with her. And if you do, there's one thing that I'd ask you to do, is when you're laying there and after you have, you know, consummated your relationship with her, if that's what you want to call it, I would appreciate it if you would, you know, snuggle up to her and you say, oh yes, Alexandria, yes, I enjoyed making love to you, and that, you know, it was one of my greatest pleasures, and also I did it for Colonel BURLIQUE. that I would be very grateful if you did that, you know. And then, you know, you could perhaps, you know, drop a little line to the Colonel and let me know that you had achieved that goal, that, you know, that achievement. And but yes, that's my take on this gal. I think yes, I would sleep with her. Yes, I certainly would have relations with her. But like I said, I'm a realist. I know that, you know, the only way she'd ever been interested in me is if she was not a congresswoman, and perhaps she was just a bartender, and that she wanted to achieve, you know, some influence peddling by perhaps, chumming up to the old Colonel to take advantage of my political connection, and perhaps, you know, bleed me for some money. But this gal's beyond that. She's already, you know, made it to the big league. She doesn't need the old Colonel's help. And if that's the case, well, that leaves me by the wayside, because no matter what, and, you know, yes, I will tell you that, yes, I do go around on a cane, and I like to take my, you know, walks, you know, wearing my hat and, you know, trying to get out there. But we have to, you know, I'm a realist. I know that this gal would not be interested in me, so this is a project that I'm going to turn over to my viewers, that perhaps they could achieve something. And if you do, I you know what, I would tip my hat to you that you achieve something. And I think that's a great notoriety that you would do something like that. And that's my take on this gal. And I think, yes, she's going places, and, you know, she's still young and silky. And I think that there's great potential for my viewership to, you know, if they can meet her and greet her, that perhaps they could bed her. But I can only hope for you and root for you, and I certainly will there, boys. And well, that was tonight's topic, and I thank you all for tuning in. And we're going to have other topics, you know, other personalities that we're going to talk about, what their, you know, their potential, and kind of the pitfalls of perhaps if you did achieve some sort of a relationship with them. That I will go over the pros and cons, you know, as the series develops. There's other topics. But my next topic for next time is going to be, we're going to kind of review some of the situation with these. I understand the last few years, there's a number of these boys out there going over to the Ukraine on these dating sites to try to hook up and find themselves, you know, a wife. And I touched briefly on this topic in my introduction of how to pick up women, which I'm going to assure you I will produce that video. But that should be an interesting topic for next time. And if you all have any suggestions for any future topics, or perhaps another gal that you would like me to feature on Would I Sleep With Her, you know, I'd appreciate you let the old Colonel know. And, well, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlingame the Fifth, adventurer, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire. At your service, madam. I'm going to be signing off. I'm going to finish my drink here, and, well, you know, my nightcap, and then I'm going to go to bed.